The most important thing you can do to make the world a better place is to become a better version of yourself, to become a better role model. And the most important way to do that is to become the opposite of a toxic person. This is the conclusion I've come to about what it means to be a good person, about what the world is asking of us if we want to not just exist, but also be a positive contributor to the world. I used to spend a lot of time worrying about global issues and feeling totally helpless and hopeless to ever do anything about them. And it felt like even though I desperately want to contribute, I want to be a positive influence in the world, it seemed like all the problems were just simply too big for me to address. Nowadays, I feel hopeful because I realize that everybody can make a contribution and we can all contribute to what matters the most. Every solution to any problem at any scale comes from people. What we can do is we can ensure that there are more well-resourced people who are able to solve problems. And the way this works is that each of us, we all have a profound impact on each other, and this happens primarily through relationship and through role modeling. Now, to explain all of this in much more specific terms, just think of a super toxic person. Think of someone you know who is difficult, someone who is a cause of stress, someone who is a problem, who is maybe abusive. Think about how profoundly one toxic person affects a whole network of people. Perhaps you've experienced this in a workplace where there's that one person who reliably ruins every single meeting, who sours everyone's workday every time as soon as they show up. Or think about one family member who maybe has an alcohol abuse problem and who with their behavior can cause so many thousands of hours of worry and stress and lost sleep and lost money and lost energy, not just for themselves, but for potentially dozens of people in their extended family. I'm using this example because we've all experienced this, and it's easy to notice and easy to remember. You can have that one interaction with someone who's being prickly or passive-aggressive or just otherwise toxic, and it sours your mood, it lowers your energy, it makes everything else that follows that day that little bit worse. And because they had that effect on you, now your mood is lower, your energy is lower, and you might be passing some of that on to other people you interact with that day. In this way, one toxic person and their shitty behavior can spread to dozens and hundreds and possibly even thousands of people. The positive side of this is that the exact same thing is true in reverse. A person who is loving and kind and calm and patient, someone who generally has their shit together, who is wise, who is a good friend, a good ally, can spread positive energy, positivity, good feelings, more motivation, more energy, more happiness to dozens, hundreds, and thousands of people simply by existing. And I've come to strongly believe that the best thing I can do and the best thing you can do to contribute to a better world is to become such a person. If you look at the videos I've been making lately, I've been talking a lot about things like emotional charge, dealing with emotional charge in yourself and in other people in a healthy way, doing practices that make you less entitled and more grateful and happier, doing things like shadow work and other forms of inner work, to do mental and emotional house cleaning in yourself and developing better relational skills. All of these ideas point at the same thing. They're all about how to move on the spectrum from being a toxic person to being the opposite of a toxic person. Something I used to underestimate is how important all the stuff is that are not about doing, but rather about being. When I'm talking about how you can have a huge positive influence on people around you, I'm not talking about individual moments of deliberate action where it's like, here I'm coming through and being a great friend and it's making this other person's day. Yes, that sometimes happens. But ultimately, the influence you have on the world around you by just being who you are in a million tiny moments that you don't even think about is far more profound than the influence that those few dramatic moments will have. Your relational skills make a huge difference there because ultimately you're in relationship with other people and you're also in relationship with yourself. So the better your relational skills are, the more you can have like clean, wholesome, positive interactions, again, with other people as well as with yourself, with the voice in your head, with your different parts. And I can't stress enough how important this is in person, in real life. I have done a lot of work on communication and relational skills, and I've done a lot of learning and teaching in this area. And as I usually do when something interests me, I read a lot of books. And there are some books on this topic that are really good. For example, How to Know a Person by David Brooks, Authentic Relating by Rael Castano, and Super Communicators by Charles Duhigg come to mind. These are good books on relational skills. But it's quite likely that if you read them, you might think, oh yeah, there's some interesting ideas here. There's maybe some tools that I might try. And some of the suggestions they make, some of the communication tools you learn about might seem like, they're a bit weird. It feels like that would be awkward to really do in a conversation. So you might reject some of it out of hand. And overall, it might seem like a collection of nice ideas, but not that impressive. It is completely different to actually experience this for yourself in real life. For example, you might in each of these books come across some version of the idea of welcoming, of having a welcoming, open attitude when you're communicating with someone, which means that you welcome the other person as they are. You're not judging them. You're not trying to fix them. You're not giving them the task of somehow living up to your expectations. And at the same time, you're also welcoming your own experience. You're welcoming whatever feelings come up. You're welcoming your own resistance. You're welcoming whatever is going on inside you. Sounds like a nice idea, right? But when you experience what this feels like, when you experience someone doing that with you masterfully, it is life-changing. The felt sense that you can only get in real life, face-to-face with someone else, the felt sense of here is someone who is truly accepting me as I am. The amount of tension that melts away, the feeling of being accepted, the feeling of deep okayness that comes from this can be deeply transformative in a way that I just don't think can be conveyed in a book or a video or any other context than in real life. This is the importance of role modeling. We learn most things through role modeling, not through reading stuff or intellectually learning it, but through lived experience, through seeing and feeling and experiencing someone else doing it. And we can then kind of match that vibe. We can step into that. This is why teaching relational skills has become one of my favorite things to do. I've been doing that in workshops in person, and it is so satisfying because you can see how people's minds get upgraded. Even more importantly than a formal workshop setting, I have seen this effect happen and play out in my own life, where I have been in the privileged position of being able to give someone an experience of, oh wow, this is possible. It is possible to relate in this way, like this level of honesty and authenticity and integrity is possible. And once you've tasted it, once you see that it's possible, you change your own behavior and it starts spreading to everyone else that you interact with. This is one of the most beautiful and fascinating things to witness. I've made a separate video explaining about how personal growth in relationships is so powerful. It's also more challenging. It's a higher difficulty level. But if you embrace that, you make more progress faster. And I'll link to that video below. I really recommend you go watch that as well. I believe our relationships are also a reflection of our own growth, a reflection of where we currently are in our own development. And so if you keep going and you keep growing, you'll see the quality of your relationships change. You'll see that positive influence starting to spread. And wherever in your life you can see yourself be that toxic person, this is not about judging or condemning that. That is simply saying, this is where the work lies, right? There is some area in your life where you are having an internal conflict, you're having some combination of fears and insecurities that you don't know how to handle, and you end up projecting it outwards onto other people. This is what I believe toxic behavior is always about. It is emotions you can't handle that you dump on other people. And check out my videos on the emotional charge model to understand this better. This is my master plan. This is how I am trying to have the largest positive effect on the world. I'm trying to create that ripple effect. I'm trying to develop and refine and then pass on and role model these tools that make me the opposite of a toxic person, that make me a person that spreads wholesomeness and positive energy simply by how I exist in the world. This is something I'm developing for myself that I want to become a true master of, and that I also want to pass on and teach to as many other people as possible. So everyone who's doing this deliberately and masterfully is like a node that spreads the ripples outwards. And I want to create as many nodes as possible. Doing the work that makes you this kind of person is step one and the most important work you can do. And then step two is connecting with other such people in intentional networks. But more on that in a future video. For now, I'll leave you with some resources for getting started below, including a link to my free integrity course. So you can sign up. You'll get an exercise that does emotional house cleaning very, very quickly and effectively. It's also a little unpleasant, but definitely worth doing. And then you'll get a series of follow-up emails that walk you through further steps on how to use this tool. And I'll also link to several related videos that will help you develop the skills and do the emotional housekeeping that I've been talking about here. I'd love to know your thoughts on this, so leave a comment below. That's all for now, and I'll see you in the next one.